Tiger fans, may I present to you today the 1983-1984 men's basketball team. The 83-84 men's basketball season was a campaign of many firsts and records as the Tigers won a school record 25 games on the way to a 25-5 finish under the direction of third-year head coach Mike Steele. After finishing the previous season with 11 straight wins and a school record 18 victories and narrowly missing a trip to the postseason, the Tigers opened the 83-84 season with a pair of wins before falling to Butler in Hinkle Fieldhouse. A 4-game win streak started with a win at preseason 4th-ranked Illinois Wesleyan. The Tigers' second loss came by 2 points at Division I Valparaiso as the Crusaders hit 2 free throws with 2 seconds left. DePauw ran its record to 13-2 after capturing the DePauw Invitational, and DePauw rattled off 8 of 9 straight wins before finishing the regular season with a record of 21-4. Not only did the Tigers earn a spot in the NCAA tournament, but they were selected as the Great Lakes region host. In a packed Neal Fieldhouse, DePauw defeated Capital 62-60 and Heidelberg 54-53 in overtime to advance to the national quarterfinals. The Tigers again were selected as a quarterfinal host and entertained Lemoyne Owen of Memphis, Tennessee. DePauw had little trouble in advancing to the national semifinals following a dominating 98-49 win. That victory wrapped up a perfect 15-0 home record for the season. A trip to Calvin College followed, and the Tigers fell to eventual Division III national champion Whitewater in the semifinals, but came right back up the next night to top Uppsala and finished 3rd in the country. They earned a bid to the NCAA Division III men's basketball championships and advanced to the national semifinals again before placing 3rd. Dave Hathaway led the Tigers in scoring with 16 points per game and earned 3rd-team All-America honors from the National Basketball Coaches Association. Phil Wendell broke the single-season record with 178 assists, a mark that stood for 18 years. The team also established school records for free throws made with 521 and attempted 685. Both of those records still stand. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to center stage head coach Mike Steele, along with Dr. Phil Eskew.
Mike, you had kind of an off and on season. You win a couple, lose one, win several more. How'd this team come together?
Well, before we get started on that, I'd like to thank Rex Call. You know, trainers always try to take care of you. And Rex Call started off today saying he missed his first child's birth, which makes the rest of us look pretty darn good. So Rex, I appreciate that, pal. Yeah. Like I said, this is before we get to that. I'd like to have all the guys that were on that team and all the people that were involved and all of their families, if you guys would all stand up so we could recognize all of you. Families, all the players, anybody that was involved. Families. Thank you so much, and I'm going to let you go in just a second. I want to thank DePauw University. They hired me as the head coach when I was 26, and I don't know what they were thinking, but it was a huge opportunity for me, and to show you how important it was to be the head coach, when I went home and I told my wife I got the job, the first thing she said, of course, was, how much are they going to pay you? And I said, I don't have a clue. And I didn't have a clue. I didn't know until, I really don't ever know even what I did get paid, but I do know I was the head coach. And from there on, it was the greatest experience coaching these guys. You know, last night we were all together, and it's funny, the athletes that are in the room here, we won a lot of games. We won 61 straight games at home over a period of time. And Scott Lewis, he didn't lose any games until he got walking pneumonia. And I thought walking pneumonia, you could play with walking pneumonia. I mean, so I blame the streak ended with Scott. But we were so fortunate to coach here at DePauw, because the people here, they understand the academic part, but they also understand every game we played. Like I had a chance to play in the Indiana-Purdue games. None of those games were any more important or any more intense than the Wabash-DePauw games. And I think that's the special thing about Division III athletics. I think our guys were, I know they were, just as competitive as any of the guys I played with at Purdue. And that's pretty special. Okay, your turn.
I mean, the season's going along. At what point did you really think this team's got a chance? This team is really getting it.
Well, the first 2 games of the year, we beat Huntington and Manchester, and I think they won 4 games apiece. So it wasn't then. In fact, Keith Gossard, my good friend that was kind of my mentor, I told him, we will not win 10 games. When then we got beat by Butler, and then we went and played at Illinois Wesleyan, and they were ranked 4th in the country in Division III. They had a guy we couldn't stop, and at halftime, we're walking out, and I said to Coach Benetti, who was with me for a long time, great assistant coach, I said, Coach B, we're going to start Scotty in the second half. And Coach B said, Scotty who? Because Scotty hadn't played any yet that year. And he started the second half. We won the game. We never could get him out of the lineup. And that was one of the biggest selling points. Or that's when I knew we had a chance to be pretty good.
Talk about your team as a whole. I mean, they're just a great group of guys.
Well, you know, I need to thank Paige Cotton, because I followed Paige here. And Paige, I ended up with 3 seniors that Paige recruited. David Hathaway, who is in the Hall of Fame, rightfully so. Steve Stroop, Dr. Stroop, was one of my all-time favorites. And Juan Aponte, who the first day I met Juan, I said, Juan, you're my favorite Puerto Rican. And I said that to him 2 weeks ago. And he always comes back with, Coach, am I the only Puerto Rican you've ever coached? I said, absolutely. But, you know, but you're still my favorite. And those 3 guys, David Hathaway was a hard worker, tough, and he loved to score. He loved to shoot. When we would call his number, it would be like the commercial, the dog, when you'd yell squirrel. He'd jerk that head around. I mean, he was going to get open. Steve Stroop, 2 days before we played Wabash his senior year, I watched Steve Stroop run across the parking lot. It was pouring down rain. And he just left a lab, and he was doing everything he could do to get to practice. That's how important it was to him. And so I was having coffee with Mr. Gossard, and I said, we're playing Wabash. I'm starting Steve Stroop in this game. And he said, why would you do that? And I said, well, first, because I can. And I said, secondly, he epitomizes what Division III is about. He loved to play. He was smart, and we won the game, and he had 8 or 10 points. And, you know, and I told the other guys, when guys want to practice and be there like that, you deserve a chance to play. And then Juan Aponte, he was a unique situation. The first year, my wife, Sandy, who always watches the guys but she always watches to see about the attitudes, who's dropping their heads. And she said, Mike, Juan didn't even go in the huddle some. I said, Sandy, he can't understand a word I say, and I can't understand a word he says. So we might as well have the people that can understand. But what he could do, he was incredibly competitive. He was tough. the only thing he really needed to know, and we're talking about the girl who couldn't shoot any threes, we didn't let Juan shoot anything. And he rebounded, he played defense, and he wanted to win the games. And when we got beat by Wisconsin Whitewater, and it's a third-place game, which is somewhat meaningless, he'd hurt his knee, they didn't think he could play, and Juan says, Coach, I'm playing in the game. And that's what kind of kid he was. So those three seniors kind of set the stage for how hard they worked. And then we had such a good group we had juniors that contributed, Phil Wendell, who was a great, I mean, we've got guys here that were, in the Hall of Fame already. So, and what I learned early, the first meeting I had with my players, I knew I was without question the dumbest person in the room. Now, I think in retrospect, we might have had somebody that could do the video, but my first recruit, Ted Rutan, where's Teddy? Ted Rutan, stand up. No, stand all the way up. Ted Rutan, I played against Ted Rutan in a pickup game, and he was really good. He had a bandana on and all that stuff, but he was really good. And I said, who is that guy? And they say, he's a baseball player. I said, well, he's getting ready to be a basketball player. He doesn't know it yet, but he's getting ready to be. And the good thing about getting Ted is we were way ahead of the game. I mean, he was a grad guy, and I didn't even know what that meant, but he played 2 years, and when I got him, then I knew I might have been the dumbest one in the room, but I wasn't the oldest. Rudy was here a long time with us, long time. All right, your turn.
Anything else you want to add?
Oh, yeah, there's lots. No. What time's the game? What time's the kickoff?
The game doesn't start till 1.
Okay,
So.
no. One thing, though, if you're playing, last night we had so much fun, and I don't think we ever talked about a game. We talked about the things that happened before the game and after the game and in practice. And I'll finish with this. We find out we're in the tournament, and we're playing Rose-Hulman. And my whole focus, the whole conversation was, it doesn't make any difference if we're in the tournament. We're playing Rose-Hulman. That's what we need to focus on. You need to focus on the game. It's what's going on right there. And I mean, I beat it into our guys. So the game's going on, and Phil Wendell gets a foul, and I turned to Coach B, and I said, how many fouls does Phil have? And he says to Coach Stevens, he says that's his first one. He gets another one with about 30 seconds to go, and they said, we made a mistake, that's his third one. So I'm incredibly mad. And we'd lost a lead, we're not focused, and so we're staying out there and out by the locker room, and we're here, and I'm yelling at the three assistants, and they're really well paid. They got no money. And I'm yelling at them, and I said, how do you expect these guys in the locker room to focus when you guys aren't focused? We got to focus, it's ridiculous. Stay out here, figure out what the heck you're doing. Boy, I went in that locker room and shut the door. I was in the janitor's closet. And I spent about a minute in there because I really, I was looking around, there's a broom, and that word focus kept coming into. So I know I got to go back out. And so I go back out, and to my guys' credit, they all had their heads down. I know it was killing them. They had their heads down. And Coach Rutan, he handed me the clipboard, and I handled it very professionally. I snapped that thing over my knee. And then the banquet that year, they had put the clipboard together, and it said, Coach Steele, composure doesn't always win games. So it was, I have people ask me when I got out of coaching, they said, do you miss coaching? And I tell them, I miss coaching at DePauw because it is a special place.
I just wish we had time to talk to the players to learn the life lessons that they learned from playing for Coach Steele and the team.
Now it's time for us to meet the team. When I call your name, please join Dr. Eskew at center stage. And we're going to read everyone's name, even though they may not always all be here. Christopher Adams was unable to make it. Juan Aponte. You do!
It's alphabetical.
And we're going to ask you that you pause for a picture there. Next up, assistant coach Chris Benetti. Dan Daniel. Student manager John Dempsey. Brent Ehrman. Athletic trainer Stephen Foster. David Gall, accepting his award today, his wife Jamie and daughter Megan.
Hello? David Gall. David Gall was the epitome of Division III athletics. David Gall was the nicest young man, and when he would get between the lines, he was nasty. I mean, we'd do these drills, and his own teammates, he would knock them down, and then he'd help them up, and he'd say what they were doing wrong, excuse me, and then he'd knock them down again, and then he'd do the same thing. I mean, he was an All-American, but he was also the best teammate. He was the best teammate and the best guy to coach, and yeah.
Next up, Dave Greiwe. David Hathaway. Unable to be with us today was Dennis Hogan. Next up, Cliff Jones. Bill Kraus. Mackenzie Scott Lewis. Craig McAtee. Neil Ogle. Not with us today, Charles Rumsey. Next up, assistant coach Ted Rutan.
Rudy? Thanks for making fun of me. You're welcome.
Two more individuals unable to be with us today, but part of the team, David Siegel and John Schneider. Next up, assistant coach Jeffrey Stevens. Steven Stroop. Joe Vanderkolk. Tim Veek. Not able to be with us today, Stephen Wiles. And finally, Phil Wendell. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give the 1983-1984 men's basketball team one more round of applause.
I've got one more. This group was with us when my second son was born, and that's Drew Steele. And if he would come up, bring your plaque. While we're young, let's go. Drew was in the hospital and had open heart surgery and during the season and stuff, and we didn't know what was going to happen to him, and now he's got, if you Google Drew Steele, he works 3 days a week at a dental office, 2 days with your brother, 2 days a week at the football office at East Carolina, 1 day at the Drew Steele Center. We remodeled a gymnasium and raised a bunch of money, and his name is on that. He leads the Pirates onto the field in all the sports, and what he's accomplished is pretty neat, and it just shows you just don't let anything hold you back. Because okay, come on.
You got a picture?
Yeah.